the living shit out of the Indiana Fever. So Indiana Fever, and it's been my belief that they will freaking fire everyone. And I do believe this. So if you're a Fever fan and you're hoping they'll keep Caitlin Clark, it's my belief that when push comes to shove, there's no way they can let her get away. They will fire everybody and start over. That's my belief. I cannot imagine the level of fumbling the bag that would have to be done.
The single greatest thing to happen to the WNBA might also be the one thing that tears it apart from the inside. Caitlin Clark was supposed to be the savior, the golden goose, the phenom who would lift the entire league onto her shoulders and carry it to the promised land of mainstream relevance. But a terrifying question is starting to bubble up from the stands and across social media. What if the biggest threat to Caitlin Clark isn't the competition, but her own?
What has Caitlin Clark meant to the WNBA?
Everything. She's changed the dynamic and history forever for women.
I see a lot of young girls here today, and I see how inspired they are, and she's even gotten me back into basketball.
I think she has brought attention. She did it for us. We had never watched, and we have become big fans.
I don't think her contributions have been extreme as what people think they are. I think the league in itself has been getting better, and that's really what we should be focusing on.
I think she's brought a lot of attention to the WNBA, and it's needed.
I think it's great. I actually grew up watching the WNBA, so it's really exciting to see a resurgence.
She meant everything. I never watched it before.
The arrival of Caitlin Clark wasn't just a draft pick, it was a seismic event, a cultural shockwave that insiders are calling the Clark Quake. The numbers are staggering and almost unbelievable. Arenas that once echoed with empty seats are now sold out, with fans lining up for hours just to catch a glimpse of her warm-up. TV ratings have shattered all-time records.
Example, and there's enough votes here. This is a good test to see how bad this would be. Swag put this out, and it's starting to make the rounds. I voted. Okay, Fever fans, answer this. If Caitlin leaves Fever, would you still support the Fever? We got 1,145 votes here. Nope, my bags are packed is far and away leading.
This wasn't just about viewership, it was about a cultural takeover. Merch sales exploded by over 500%, with her number 22 jersey becoming a staple in cities across the country. She single-handedly made the Indiana Fever the most watched, most talked about team in the league. She isn't just a basketball player, she's an economic stimulus package in high-top sneakers. And that level of unprecedented attention was beginning to breed a dangerous combination of jealousy and resistance.
All for letting her cook. Me dinner.
I'm buying Powerade stock.
Is it a play on like women shouldn't? No, they didn't do it on purpose. There's no way. How you came up with this and not in the back of your minds like, oh, they're just gonna be like, oh, it's women. She just needs to cook. Didn't think about that in the PR room. Look, I'm a big advocate of letting.
This brings us to the coach, Christy Sides, and the baffling strategy that has left fans screaming at their TVs. The conflict seems to be one of philosophy. Sides comes from an old school mindset that preaches a balance, share the ball offense where everyone gets a touch. But Caitlin Clark is not an old school player. She is a modern heliocentric force of nature, an engine that needs the ball in her hands to bend the defense to her will. And this fundamental clash was becoming painfully obvious.
Boy, listen, NBA players make 50% of revenues. WNBA players make 9%. And now the merch sales are up 500% and attendance is up, 40%. So they're going to get a raise. There's no question. And I don't really care that the previous 25 years, they didn't make a lot of money or lost money. I don't care. They're in the middle of a negotiation and they're on a heater. So it doesn't really matter. I've said this before. I made an investment for 5 years and it lost money. And I got about 6 months left in the investment. And in the last 6 months, they started making cash. I'm not bailing on the investment. I want to finally get my money back. So they're going to get a raise. They're finally turning a corner. But and negotiating in any business is all about current momentum. It's not about 12 years ago. It's about current momentum.
Game after game, a bizarre pattern emerges. In crunch time, the ball is inexplicably taken out of her hands. Plays are drawn up for teammates who are shooting ice cold, while Clark, the most lethal scorer on the floor, is used as a glorified decoy parked in the corner. It's not just confusing, it feels like a deliberate attempt to put her in a box, to shrink her game to fit a system that was built before she ever arrived. Is it incompetence, or is it something far more calculated?
Caitlin Clark is a media driver. She is a ratings driver. I think about the NBA post Magic and Larry, the NBA post Michael Jordan, tennis post Serena Williams, golf post Tiger Woods, right? There are certain athletes that drive the sport more than others. And that's not to take away from anyone else drafted tonight. That's not to take away from the other incredible superstars in the WNBA right now.
Then came the decision that sent shockwaves through the entire sports world. Caitlin Clark was left off the US Olympic team. The news broke and the reaction was immediate disbelief. How could the most popular, most electrifying player in the sport be excluded? The move felt less like a basketball decision and more like a political statement, a brutal message sent from the highest levels of the establishment.
The t-shirts don't bother me, but why do you take a shot at the Golden Goose, Caitlin Clark? You guys were flying before she arrived on one of those airlines that made you pay for a cup of water. One of those airlines that is the planes are the color of a highlighter. Now you're flying private. Okay, if you're in a band and you're staying at the Motel 6 and you add a band member and now you're at the Ritz-Carlton, keep your issues to yourself.
The official justifications felt flimsy from the start. The committee cited a need for veteran leadership and existing chemistry, excuses that rang hollow to anyone watching. The argument that she lacked experience was particularly insulting, considering she was outperforming many of the chosen veterans on a nightly basis. It quickly became clear that the real reasons were hidden beneath the surface, rooted in a deep-seated resistance to her sudden rise.
Age 23, I'm going to pass on that question, actually. WNBA star Caitlin Clark is transforming women's sports. She fills arenas night after night, and her games have smashed TV viewership records. And if you watch Clark play, well, it's not hard to figure out why. She makes deep three-pointers look easy. And like all stars, wants the ball when the game is on the line.
The most damning theory, and the one that many believe to be true, is that the snub was a political maneuver. It was framed as a farewell gift for veteran Diana Taurasi, the same player who publicly warned that reality is coming for Clark. It was seen as the old guard protecting its own, a clear signal to Caitlin that she needed to wait her turn, no matter how brightly her star was shining. They had drawn a line in the sand, but they had severely underestimated the army she had built.
And I think it's like something where if you are a star in the WNBA, like Caitlin Clark, she's probably one of the few people that anybody you can mention to somebody that knows sports will know Caitlin Clark. Yeah. She's getting a ton of deals. Coke, Gatorade, you name Nike deals. Now, I know a lot of the other players, like if you're the 12th person on the team, you're probably not making that much money, but I just feel like coming out like this, what are they going to bargain with? What is their like thing they're coming with that's going to change their salary? And that's what I was trying to figure out. I couldn't understand because they're already rev sharing. The NBA already gives them money, compensates for the loss they make every year because they lose 50.
That army's loyalty was put to the test in a now famous online poll. The question was simple: if Caitlin Clark leaves the Fever, will you still support the team? The answer was a deafening landslide. An overwhelming majority voted, nope, my bags are packed. Let that sink in. These are not Indiana Fever fans. They are Caitlin Clark fans. Their allegiance isn't to a logo, it's to a person.
Female bird. She had Van Slugenhagen on her. She was like, I'm offended that y'all have white defensive players guarding me, and she put her in the torture chamber. You should have known from her little face that she didn't want this matchup from the beginning. Caitlin reminds me of what Dame does. If anybody ever noticed, her first shot, always a three. First quarter, second quarter, third. She sets the distance on her first shot, so you have to guard her there. Now she can do whatever she wants to do. She's playing a chess game. That's what Dame does. He starts his game off, He's gonna shoot a deep ass 3 to force.
This isn't a typical fan base. They see themselves as the guardians of her legacy, a digital militia ready to defend her against any perceived slight or sabotage. When they flood social media with the hashtag #LetHerCook, it's not just a request, it's a demand. They see the questionable coaching and the dismissive attitude from veterans, and they are not staying quiet. They are a new force in the WNBA, and they are fiercely protective.
WNBA before Caitlin Clark and the WNBA after Caitlin Clark. Describe these two worlds.
Oh, entirely different. 180, you know. The WNBA before started in 1997, the year after the Atlanta Olympics, and was launched into a time when women's sports was still not taken seriously by a lot of, people. And some of those same guys now, if we want to talk about before and after, some of those same guys, or guys like them, are the ones buying the 22 jerseys, wearing them to games, Major, but also to the grocery store and to the gas station. It is now cool to be a WNBA fan, and it is cool to love Caitlin Clark and the spotlight that is finally shining on these players.
The welcome to the league moments for Caitlin Clark have been brutal, and they go far beyond typical rookie hazing. The infamous hip check from Chennedy Carter, an off-the-ball cheap shot, was a flashpoint. It wasn't just tough defense. It was a blatant foul that felt personal, dripping with a resentment that seemed to have been simmering all season, and it was far from an isolated incident.
On the night that I broke the news, someone read me the list that Caitlin Clark was not on the Olympic team, which was June 7th. She had just had 30 points and 7 threes against Washington in an amazing game. And bottom line on this is they did not want her on the team. There was either a sense that she needs to wait her turn. They wanted to give Diana Taurasi the going away present. Name another time when you would ever give an athlete a going away present with an Olympic berth. Outrageous. So Caitlin said, hey, it's okay. And in interviews, she said, it's all right, I'll make it the next time. Well, in the book, I have a wonderful anecdote from then.
This has been a recurring theme. Clark has been shoved, elbowed, and targeted in a way that feels less like competition and more like a concerted effort to physically intimidate her. The hits are often away from the ball, designed to send a message. Is this just a league-wide effort to humble the phenom, or is there something more coordinated at play? The most disturbing part wasn't just the fouls, but the silence that followed.
I was mesmerized by her. And I will tell you this. This was the greatest performance I've ever seen in the NCAA tournament, girl or boy. Greatest performance.
On this biggest stage.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because rarely does a game like this live up to its hype.
Yeah.
Rarely do you have the two superstars play like superstars, because you got to understand the scout report is geared to stop you. All the hype coming into this is going to be people who've never watched a girls' basketball game watched. A lot of people watched for the first.
That'd be fine if her way was producing championships. Instead, it's producing late-game melt.
The response from her own team and coach has often been shockingly tepid. Fans and analysts have repeatedly questioned why her teammates aren't quicker to step in and defend her, or why the coaching staff isn't more vocal in press conferences about the abuse she's taking. It feeds the growing narrative that she's been left on an island, forced to fend for herself against a league that seems determined to make her fail. With the situation becoming more toxic by the day, the conversation is shifting from what if she leaves to when will she leave? The idea of her playing out her rookie contract in Indiana under these conditions feels increasingly unlikely. The internal friction and external attacks are creating an untenable environment, pushing the league's biggest star toward the exit. For the Indiana Fever franchise, her departure wouldn't just be a loss, it would be an extinction-level event. The sold-out crowds, the national TV slots, the massive revenue, it would all vanish overnight. The team would instantly revert to its former status. An anonymous name in a box score. A forgotten footnote in the story of the superstar they failed to keep. They are in danger of becoming a cautionary tale for the entire sports world. Meanwhile, the city that lands her, whether it's the big market appeal of New York or the championship culture of Las Vegas, would immediately become the new epicenter of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark doesn't just join a team, she transforms it into the league's capital. The power she holds is immense, and it seems the only people who don't fully grasp it are the ones currently in charge of her career. In the end, this is more than just a sports drama. It's a battle for the soul of the WNBA. On one side, you have a revolutionary talent who represents the league's bright, explosive future. On the other, you have an entrenched establishment that seems determined to force that future to conform to the rules of the past. The fans have chosen their side. The question is, will the WNBA embrace the revolution she started, or will it go down in history as the league that tried to cage its own phenom and fumbled a dynasty?